Yeah, it's there. Okay. So, morning, Dave. How are you doing? What's going on?
Just the usual. I'm still trying to drum up some donations at the local Staples for the school supply drive.
Yeah,
We're getting close to 8,000. I'm thinking we're probably about $7,700.
I thought you did that in August. I always thought that was an August thing, not a September thing.
No, it goes from actually this year. Last year it was like from mid-August to well into October. They extended it twice. And we had an amazing year last year. We made $9,600, but
yeah,
when our usual average number was around 5,000, we nearly doubled it. But
well,
this year,
you're doing okay.
This year we're doing pretty good. It started back in July, but we didn't start men in the store until about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Several of our members have manned the store and tried to talk at different times. I go in there almost every day, and for a couple hours, and I have an old lady that used to be part of our club, is now part of the St. Catherine's Club. She's volunteered to help us out too. She comes in on weekends and sometimes during the week. I go get her and bring her there. But so we're doing pretty good there. So that's.
Do they do the same in St. Catherine's? Because I've never seen anybody outside the St. Catherine's store.
No, they had the same arrangement, but I don't know. Like you're not going to find a person there all the time. You only get if you get a couple of volunteers, you might be able to cover 4 hours, but usually it's just me here at this store.
I've not seen the kettles though in St. Catherine's when I've gone there.
There's no kettles. There's no kettles.
There's no bucket for the money to go into anymore.
No, what you do is you go to the you can give the money to the person. Like if there's a Kiwanis person, you give the money to them, and what they do is just go to the checkout, and Staples collects the money for us and then gives it to us when it's all over.
Yeah, okay. All right. No, I hadn't realized that, because there used to be, when you're doing the ones in Niagara Falls, I've seen the lady in Niagara Falls who did it. It's usually a collection thing, isn't there? And there's a banner there, isn't there?
It's a little banner just inside the door.
Yeah, just inside the door.
We have a display of the thank you letters of some of the little kids that sent us little thank you letters. And so we have some of them up, and plus a big letter written by I think it was a couple of the teachers, and the little kids signed their names to it, as an example of, where the stuff goes and the appreciation that comes back.
Yeah, I was just saying I hadn't seen it in the St. Catherine's store, but still, not since it's moved anyway. Not since the new location. And we go there once a month to get our stationery supplies if we don't get them delivered. The last couple of times we've been there because of more convenient.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah. So that's.
So your drive's doing quite well. It looks like you'll be on target for 8,000, which is good.
Which is pretty good. Yeah, it's still way over our average.
Yeah.
So that's I thought that was So, but it takes effort. Like for instance, if there's one of us in the store, the donations go way up. I'll give you an example.
Because I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't think about it if I'm at the till. I'm more concentrating on paying for my goods, aren't I?
Yeah, well, at the till, they're supposed to ask you if you want to give a donation. A lot of the tellers are sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah,
a lot of them are very, very good about it. They ask you every time. But if you have a person there and you explain yourself as the people come in, which I do, and
even if they don't give, they're more likely to give at the till, aren't they?
yes, yeah. Well, that's where we want them to give their donation, because then they can do it with cash or card or phone or every way.
Yeah. So my total is $192.76. Now I can boost it up to $200 or something, or put in $25 or something like that, right?
Yeah, quite right. Now I'll give you an incident why it makes a difference if someone's there. On Thursday, I went in there, and I went in there about 3:30, and they only had $30 for the whole day in donations. I stayed there 2 hours, and there was another additional $200.
Wow.
Came in, which is rather exceptional. I have to admit that, but that's what the difference is, just by having someone there.
Yeah, but you don't. I get that I get that having somebody there helps boost the donations, but what you don't know is the guy who was doing 200 may well have been inclined to give the 200 anyway, irrespective of you prompting.
No one person gave the 200. It was a bunch of different people. My whole point was I was there for 2 hours talking to people as they came in.
Yeah,
and that boosted the donations. Now I would have expected they would have boosted by about $50 or $60 just by being there, but having boosted over $200, it was obviously the difference of me being there.
Yeah,
not me in particular, but a Quanian there talking to people as they come in.
It's the Dave Wheeler factor, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my charm.
It's your charm. Hey, your charm brought Jimmy Kimmel back. He's back tonight.
Yeah, congratulations, American public. The ABC was quite ready to dump him. They got afraid of what according to leaked reports or people who were witnessing the reports, the ABC freaked out when complaints came in 2 days after Kimmel made his controversial remarks. There was no blowback to speak on Tuesday or even Wednesday, but the government got all riled up and the ABC freaked out and they canceled Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely. But what happened is because they felt it might hurt their bottom line. But what happened, and of course, all the right-wing commentators say, "Oh well, he wasn't getting good ratings, and it was a business decision, and all that."
Yeah.
Same thing they did with Colbert. Well, it turns out that the business decision turned on its back because ABC faced all kinds of cancellation of Disney and other networks that they had, Hulu or whatever else. So people were canceling one after another in waves and threatening to do more. ABC says, well, we're damned if we do or if we're damned if we don't. If we lose our audience, it's going to be worse than appeasing the government. Yeah. So the FCC, so they decided to bring the indefinite cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel quite quickly unindefinite and put him back on the air because they were standing to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what happened here was nothing moral, nothing ethical. What was a real problem for many people is the networks have not been standing up to the government right now, and they feel that the FCC is the one that they have to deal with if they want to do mergers and things like that. So what they wanted to do was appease the government, but what they forgot to do was appease the people who were watching them. And they were going to run into something like Bud Light did when the people on the right sort of rebelled against their brand and they lost the top spot and never were able to regain it. And I think probably the ABC is looking at that for America at large, people being really angry that they caved. And the FCC chairman did the what is commonly called the gangster type approach. We can do this the hard way or the easy way. You get rid of people we don't like, or we'll find a way of putting pressure on you that make you do it. So with all this concern, ABC quickly scrambled and flip-flopped and brought Kimmel back. Obviously, the ratings weren't bad enough for them to continue that, whatever. We'll see what happens in the future, though, because it depends on how the government's going to react. Trump celebrated this as a great victory. He's got rid of Colbert. He's got rid of Kimmel. He's going to go after Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon next. After Colbert, he says Kimmel's next, but Colbert hasn't come back, but Jimmy Kimmel has come back. So maybe this is a very clear thing. And he found and Meg is being split over this as well. They didn't like the free speech thing being attacked like it was.
Yeah.
Because as Ben Shapiro says, there'll be a different person in the White House one day, and they'll just flip on us. They'll do the same thing to us. So, which he is a right-wing broadcaster.
And I'm, as we said earlier, last week, I'm not a fan of the Kimmel show, but I 100% support his right, the right to have that show on there. I've watched it 1 or 2 times. I've been nonplussed by it. So, yeah.
No, I was never enamored by the Colbert show. I was never enamored by Kimmel. It's not that they just don't appeal to me.
Yeah,
that kind of a thing doesn't appeal to me. I don't really care about the political commentary or whatever else. Jon Stewart, I think he's a bit wittier, but I don't go looking for a show.
Well, it used to be.
I'll see little clips of it on YouTube and stuff like that. But
yeah, I used to be a big fan. I used to be a big fan of Letterman, right? And I used to watch Letterman religiously every day. We used to get it 24 hours, and not 24 hours, but we used to get it a day late in the UK.
I remember watching Letterman, but late night shows, even Johnny Carson and things like that, never appealed to me. So I don't know. I didn't think there were.
Well, they did for a period of time,
I don't think Jimmy Kimmel shows or Colbert or most of those shows are very interesting to me at all. I don't. That's just my own personal taste, though. Yeah, I don't even have TV, to tell you the truth. All I have is cable, or I don't have cable. All I have is internet, YouTube, and I watch YouTube and some of the news stations. That's about all I can get on my TV.
Yeah.
For last night, for instance, I watched the PBS news, but I haven't even watched them for a long time. And if I want Canadian news, I just go to YouTube and bring up CTV or CBC or Global National, and I'll try to get my news there. So basically the late night satirists, I don't really care too much about them, but I'm not in the majority. Most people like them.
Yeah. As I say, I used to for a while with Letterman, but not really. I watched each of these once in a while and went, not for me.
Yeah,
don't have access to live TV anymore. So hey,
I'm kind of relieved that the Trump administration is getting pushback now, even from MAGA. Ted Cruz was against it. Right-wing influencer Ben Shapiro was against it. Even weirdos like I think Alex Jones and what's that other weirdo that was actually in the government? Shoot, I can't even remember his name for now.
Mm.
Bannon.
Oh,
That weirdo. He was even against it because they saw that sooner or later the threat will come down on them. That the government will then say, "Well, we see that you back up the government most of the time, but if you're not going to back up the government all the time, we're going to find a reason to get rid of you too."
yeah. All right, moving on. There's a 27 million investment by Ford's government in the Chapman ice cream bars. So this is a part about making a new plant, or not plant, new equipment. I think. Not so sure. I'm not so sure that. Yes, we need manufacturers to invest in their production facilities. And sometimes we need government support for that. But should the government be sinking money into private industry?
Well, it's an interest-free loan, so they're going to have to. I switched this to Dave. So they're going to have to pay it back interest-free. But when Chapman comes along to the banks and wants $27 million, the banks are going to waffle on them, go back and forth. So just as we found out yesterday, where the Ontario shipyards, where the Ontario government has invested a lot of money in the Ontario shipyards, primarily to bring up the skill levels of people who would have to work there, but also making it possible for them to be able to expand their business. And when you have a whole lot of other competition or very reluctant banks to invest in you, then I think it's a good idea, because what we want is jobs, and the Ontario government wants to invest in Ontario companies. Kawartha is another Ontario ice cream company, and if I was kind of hoping they would just ask for Kawartha or give that to Kawartha too if they've had plans. But Chapman, of course, is a famous family-owned company, as is Kawartha of dairies.
Oh, I know.
They make a very good brand of ice cream using Ontario milk and as many Ontario ingredients as they can. And they're expanding $27 million. Well, $27 million is not a whole lot of coin. When you really think about it, $27 million is not a lot of coin when you're looking at a business. So the interest-free loan, that means they do have to pay it back but without interest, will stimulate that company, allow them to expand, and allow them to hire more people. And there's, I really like the fact that.
So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask a question. Can we have similar loans for small business?
I suppose. I don't know. I don't know how government finance works. I know the federal government pumps money into the oil industry. I know the government pumps money into transportation, pipelines, all this other kind of thing.
Pipelines is an infrastructure thing. It's got to be paid for, but it needs to be paid for by government, I think.
Why? Most other pipelines are purchased, I believe, by the companies themselves. But I'm not really sure of that. I'm not up on government subsidies or government loans.
Yeah. Well, okay, but again, it could be a private-public partnership as well. That's the other possibility with the pipelines. But it's an infrastructure thing.
Well, remember Trans Mountain Pipeline, the company that was involved there just bailed out, and the Canadian government had to pick it up and go ahead with it. Even under the Trudeau administration, they did finish it off. Way overpriced, but they managed to get it, and that got Alberta Oil to a port. So that's got to be a good thing for the economy. Maybe not great for the environment, but until we get money from our oil, we can't have any money to invest in cleaner stuff. It seems to be almost like a catch-22. You're damned if you do, or if you're damned if you don't. Yeah. As far as environmentally, but in this particular case, I really like the way Ford did it. Now, he's been championing Ontario industry and Ontario stuff, economy. He's been a real fighter against the trade war that we're going against the U.S. He's been a vocal. He's been a strong supporter of Canada, Ontario and Canada. And when he was doing his press conference, he was eating a Chapman Chapman ice cream bar and saying he eats one every night. Well, by the look of him, I think he eats more than one. But
I was going to say, how many of them did he eat on the visit, right?
Yeah, seriously.
The ladies alongside him. The ladies alongside him are holding up lollipops that they're gently licking. You know, hey, I'm going to lick 2 or 3 things just for the camera shot, but then I'm putting it down.
Well, I think he heartily ate at that one. And of course, the conspiracy is that by acquiring this $27 million interest-free loan, Doug Ford requires Chapman to deliver cases of ice cream bars to his house free of charge.
Yeah.
Bribery in Canada is a little bit different. Like bribery in the United States is like Qatar giving Donald Trump a jet or buying huge into his Bitcoin. But bribery in Canada is an ice cream manufacturing bribing the premier with boxes of ice cream bars.
Yeah, well, or maybe the next Ontario cabinet meeting comes full of Chapman's ice cream bars.
Yeah, and the opposition will be Kawartha. You know, they'll get their ice cream bars from Kawartha.
I prefer Kawartha, actually. I have to say.
I like them both. To tell you the truth, I like Chapman's. If I see Chapman's or Kawartha, I won't buy anything else because those are the ones I know that are made in Ontario. So those are the ones I'm going to buy. And I just about do that with almost everything else too. Sadly, I can't buy walnuts from Ontario, so they'll have to come probably from the States. But and sometimes I have to buy celery from the States, but everything else I try to buy from Ontario, Canada, or somewhere else in the world. I would be buying American things, and I won't be buying American things until after the trade war.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think moving on, Baldinelli is to reintroduce the bill to ensure Paul Bernardo stays in maximum security prison. It's basically it's Bill C-232, and it seeks to amend the Corrections and Conditional Release Act, and the goal is to ensure that court-ordered dangerous offenders and mass murderers are automatically and permanently classified as maximum security inmates. I tend to agree.
Well, Baldinelli is putting this out there as Bernardo moving to a medium. Well,
he did a couple of years back.
Yeah, he did. They moved him there. Now he's saying that this is an example of the government going soft on crime. We found the same thing happening in the United States with Ghislaine Maxwell. She was in maximum security prison, but she went and she talked to Trump's lawyer, who is second in command of DOJ, coincidentally. And because of her cooperation and the nudge, nudge, wink, wink, don't implicate Donald Trump. We'll help you out here. We'll move you to a better prison. That's what they did. And I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump pardons her when his term is done. I think there's lots of promises there. But in this case, there was no political prodding. It was the call of the prisons. In this case, in our case, it was the prisons have made this decision. Decisions on their own. And that is the Correctional Service Canada reviewed its decision to transfer Bernardo to medium security with widespread backlash, but said that, he's not a threat to the public in medium security prison, despite and they're saying, well, the medium security prison is not that much better than the maximum security prison. And I don't know why they moved him there. Is it because it's cheaper? Is there an economic reason? There seems to be no other reason than they decided, well, they're going to move him to a better prison. Like if there was a real economic reason for it, I'd say, okay, it's saving the taxpayers money. But otherwise, keep him maximum security prison. Look, this guy's a psychopath of some sort. He has a feelingless person, and he did cold-blooded, torturous murder on 2 young ladies right here in Niagara.
Yeah.
No wonder Baldinelli is the one that's
and in part, the only reason I could see, he must be an aging guy now anyway.
What? No, Bernardo?
Bernardo.
I don't know how old he is. I think he's 50s maybe.
Oh, I would have thought he was older than that, but okay.
60s maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I would have thought he was in his 70s, but still.
Oh, wait a minute. No, he would have to be. He may be in his 60s by now, or late 50s or 60s, because I knew someone I know went to his wedding. His wife knew
61. Just looked it up. He was 61. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Okay. So, but he's getting older, and I'm wondering whether that was something to do with the move. But I don't know. I'm not saying I excuse it. It doesn't. I've not liked this, but I think people like him, very dangerous people, need to be kept in maximum security.
Yeah, if it's medium security and the way the government operates, you wonder, this is a guy that could escape. Yeah. However, there is the public outrage here.
Yeah.
That we have a cold-blooded murderer who tortured and kept alive Christian French, did terrible things to her, like unbelievable things to her, and killed Leslie Mahaffey as well, and in the same sort of brutal manner.
Yeah.
This is, and the public is supposed to say, oh, it's okay that he goes from a maximum security prison to a medium security prison. The public does not like that. The government, even though whatever the rules are, as they review a case and say, okay, well, this guy is not so much of a threat, so he could be moved to a medium security prison. If they can't show the reasons why, if it's going to save cost or anything like that, or it's just because, okay, this particular prison's not that bad. This guy is a cold-blooded, brutal murderer. It's not like going and reviewing the case of a guy that was a robber, or even somebody like our friend William O'Sullivan, who had been in prison for armed robbery and things like that. You can see that. Yeah, to move someone like that as they improve, as they become less and less of a threat to society. If you review them, you could do that. But this guy is, you might want to reward a prison inmate that's making good progress to move in a different direction. But this guy, why would you want to do that? Yeah. Like, I just don't understand. And when the Trudeau government was criticized for this, they said, well, it's not a decision, it's corrective services, and they are independent, and the government imposing its will on corrective services sends the wrong message. It's a line we do not want to cross.
Well, I support the need that we keep court-ordered dangerous offenders and mass murderers off the streets forever. I also do support the idea that if you've committed murder on 3 or more occasions, rape on 3 or more occasions, and paedophilia on 3 or more occasions, that you should be out. That you should never come back.
Yeah, drastic crimes. The 3 strikes and you're out for brutal crimes or very dangerous crimes like pedophilia, rape, murder. I mean, you should be, for the first one in murder, you should be gone for good.
Yeah.
But there was this general laxing of the penal system under the Liberals. They had this pie in the sky idea. As we know, even Trudeau did not want to make handguns in the same category as assault guns because he felt that more handguns were in the hands of minorities. Therefore, it would be, it would be, prejudicial against that community to make handguns as illegal as assault rifles in his convoluted mind. He also pulled the mandatory sentence for having a gun in a crime because it's more likely that those perpetrators would be people of color. You see the kind of thinking there is not logical. Yeah. And it is pie in the sky idealism. And it comes from people who live in gated communities. The elitists have no real idea of what's really going on there.
Yeah. And thing is, okay, I'm not a fan of the jail not bail act as it currently is. We need to toughen up our bail laws, but I don't think the Conservatives' jail not bail act is viable as it currently sits. But we do need to also.
Well, the Liberal government's already shifting that way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's moves in that direction. So it's I suspect this bill may actually be taken on by the Liberals.
Well, I didn't put the article here, but Ontario Ford put down demands from the Liberal government of how the new laws should come into effect and about bail and about crime and how it is treated. When you have the swinging door, the swinging gate approach that the Liberals did, and their inability to see how wrong it was, because they have the theory. Some psychologist is giving them a theory, and it's like the Communist Party saying if you give the land, make it a land collective farm, it's going to work because it says so here in the Communist Manifesto. And it doesn't work. It must be somebody's problem. And that's, I think, the Liberals did not look at practical, real issues with crime. They played with idealistic, theoretical ideas of crime. And we got to get back to the practical stuff. You're a criminal, you go to jail.
Yeah.
You use a gun in a crime, you get a mandatory 2 years just for having that gun.
Yeah.
In the crime. And then you will have the rest of the stuff.
What else you will get. Yeah. Yeah. But again, they're looking also, in addition to this, of strengthening the legal response to intimate partner violence. Which is something we do need to do something more about. But again, that whole area, I think, needs more discussion, needs more thought, more to be brought into it. And the other question is ensuring that victims of crimes are provided timely explanations of decisions determining the movement and status of criminal that victimize them victimize them. Yeah.
Well, here's the other point here is the families of Mahaffey and French are once again traumatized. Yeah. Once again, this is put into their face. They'll never. How are they ever going to move on with their lives, ever? Yeah. When the government says, "Okay, well, this vicious, brutal murderer oh, we're going to put them in a medium security prison. Well,
Yeah.
this just brings it all back to them. Like, and the fact that the government could be so insensitive to do such a thing to them. They will make the Mahaffey and French families victims of this guy forever, because they'll always have to face the controversy that's around him. Put him in prison, shut the door, don't talk to him, don't whatever, just whatever. You do not put him in the public eye. And the insensitivity of the Trudeau government towards the victims, the real victims, is what's driving this. And I think what Baldinelli's doing here is, if he's successful and Bernardo goes back to prison, then maybe we can shut the door on the guy and let these families live.
Yeah. And I think I'm pretty sure that I'm going to say, I can say, I believe that probably the Liberals will adopt this bill. I might amend it, but I think they will adopt it because I think it's the right thing to do.
I don't think they'll. I don't know what they will do to it. They might amend it. The fact that it comes from a conservative right away means they won't. They can't automatically prove it, because that's the game of politics.
Of course,
you don't let the other side win. But in this case, it might be a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah.
And
but they'll come up with their own version. It won't be Bill C-232 that gets passed. It will be some other bill.
They're going to say, "Oh, we're already working on this," which they've already said they have done.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
then
a
symbolic move on their part would be to put him back in maximum.
I think that would be, and hey, I would call upon the Justice Minister to do so pretty rapidly.
Yeah, and do something. But even if they keep him in medium security prison, I think we should just quietly not talk about the guy anymore. We have two families here, the Mahaffey and the French family, that this situation keeps being pushed into their face, and a reminder of their loved ones being tortured and murdered. Come on. Do we really want to put them through that over and over again?
Yeah. Well,
and the trauma that we feel too. Like, that turns my stomach every time I think of it. It turns my stomach, and it turns my stomach that the police were sitting outside that house observing him and would not tell the Niagara Regional Police because they were afraid to lose the collar.
Yeah. I wasn't here, of course, when it happened, but do understand exactly the local concern about this. But the thing is, Bernardo's never going away, if you know what I mean. Until the day he dies, he's going to be in everybody's face.
Well, then when he dies, it's going to be controversial what kind of funeral he'll have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So the press will be all over it. But
I think prison yard funeral just gets bury him in the prison yard and leave it there.
Well, he has rights, and so does his family. So.
I know, but you know where I'm coming. You know where I'm coming from, don't you?
Yeah.
There's there used to be such a thing as a pauper's grave. Sometimes you actually need a mass murderer, pit where nobody knows the location of it.
Well, I don't know what they did with them. I know there was prison yard burials because obviously lots of people in prison die.
Yeah.
And there was a graveyard for them. But in the end, I think this Bernardo thing should finish up quickly for the relief of the families. And I don't blame. This is the second attempt by Baldinelli to do this, and maybe he'll get a better ear. And right now, the Liberal government has failed miserably on the the Trudeau Liberal government has failed miserably on immigration. It failed miserably on the economy. And it failed miserably on things like the justice system.
Yeah.
So So now the new liberals are going to have to shift quite a bit to the right to try to get the confidence of the people back. It's interesting. I just mentioned immigration. I was talking to an Indian guy yesterday when I was at Staples, and he was an Indian who had come in prior to the big, huge amount of Indians coming into the country of late, and surprisingly, he did not approve of the mass amount of Indians that have come into the country in the last, decade or so, because him and his father and mother came many, many years ago. They worked hard in a bunch of different businesses, worked with other people, and they kind of made it. It was a typical immigrant story where you come with nothing and you struggle and you try to get this or that or whatever, and you finally make it. And he doesn't see the same sort of ideals in the newer Indians that come into the country. He blames the government for opening the doors to immigration, particularly Indian immigration, and he's not happy of the quality of the Indian immigrant lately coming into the country, particularly in the areas of the Punjab where he is from. And he just did not. So he had a lot of very common sense things to tell me about the kind of entitlements that he feels that some of the newer Indian immigrants feel. That they came in as students and other things without, like, as he did not. He came in as a regular immigrant. So he feels that he has no he has no
so he basically
he understands the growing resentment to the Indian population. I didn't know there was one, to tell you the truth, but he says there is a growing resentment to the Indian population because there's too many of them doing too little and getting into the country as students or other things.
All right.
So he had a lot of complaints for the federal government of their immigration policies up until now. Of course, that's changed, but he felt that it just opened the door to a lot of people that really weren't serious about building a life and looking just for a different place to live.
Okay. All right. So where are we? Okay. Niagara teachers grapple with school violence.
This is a big one.
Yeah, they're calling it a crisis in the classroom. Violence and harassment in schools is on the rise, and they're very, very concerned about it. And what they're basically saying is the lack of resources and support staff, which is leading to this. And I also wonder if it's the larger classrooms, because Ford put in this mandate for growing the classrooms in the first year of his when he was in office, and I always thought back then it wasn't a good idea.
I think it's rubbish. I went through school. We had huge classes. I was part of the baby boomers. They didn't have enough teachers, and the classes were huge. We had 35 to 40 people in our class, at least 35 in our class, which is thought to be huge by modern standards. They think a 20, 25, 24 kids is too much in a class now, and they have teachers' assistants and all that other stuff. Baloney. I went through school with huge classes.
But also you went through school in a period of capital punishment. So if you did anything, you might have been sent. You might have been given the ruler or the slipper, or been sent to the headmaster's office for a caning.
Maybe, but the real thing was that we were taught to be respectful. Teachers were respected, even though we might not like them. We respected them, and we were given the business. Like, I could not be bad in school, or I would have to face my father.
Yeah, yeah.
I was not
And he
afraid
may
of
not
the
be.
teachers. I was not afraid of the
Yeah,
principals. I did not want the wrath of my father,
and
even
your
the
father might not.
glowering look upon me from my father.
Yeah, and your father might not be the best educated person in the world, but he knew that going to school was the right thing to do.
Yes, and once you were there, you behaved yourself.
Yes. Well, in
Right.
fact,
If I
actually,
was
there's a
caught
whole.
fighting, I got it. I got a, like my most guys and most people that I went to school with were given this, particularly the boys, were given this by the father. Whatever punishment you get at school is going to be twice as bad at home.
Yeah.
Think of that before you
Yeah.
misbehave.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, we didn't get. I went through school. I guess that there was the threat of punishment at school. My father wouldn't have punished us at all. We believe our family. We believed in talk rather than punishment. But that's we you can believe there would have been no TV. We'd have been lectured at for 3 hours and then sent to bed, right?
Well, we were also we were also taught to be respectful from an early age.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We were taught to be respectful, and there was a line in the sand of how you could behave. Right now, kids are talking to the teachers, calling them bro and dude and that kind of thing. I talked in a high school about 7 8 years ago about public speaking in a small group, and so I asked different kids if they could stand up and just tell us something about themselves, to sort of expose themselves to public speaking among their peers there. And one young lady says, "No way, dude, I ain't gonna do that." And I looked at the teacher, and she didn't even flinch. And it was this far from saying, "Young lady, you do not call me dude, you call me sir." But I didn't want to get into it.
Yeah.
And the problem here is there is no respect. So what the teachers are saying is I want a smaller class, I want more teachers' assistants, and I need more psychologists and everything else like that. And I don't blame them. But when I was in school and there was 35 kids in a class, you respected the teacher. And if you got out of hand, you went down to the principal. But very rarely did anyone go to the principal, because we were taught at home to have respect for the teacher, even if we didn't like them.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and I think there's a difference between, there's a difference between the generations, right?
Yes. So
You and I went to school in a period whereby you don't say, you're right. We'd have 35 kids in a class, and one teacher, no teacher's aide. There's negative things about not having teachers' aides, because the kids who fell behind fell way, way, way behind. And that was the principle about having smaller classes, is to ensure that there weren't kids who fell massively behind. And that was the purpose of having school support staff, because you had support staff who weren't teachers, but were able to keep that, to help those kids that fell behind.
biting, punching, kicking, a stabler thrown at a teacher's head.
Yeah.
That's how it begins, the article.
Yeah.
Overturned desks. Well, what are the consequences? And it says here during the whole thing about the terrible behavior. I don't read anything about the consequence to the student.
Yeah.
First of all, there should be consequences to the student. Something that a consequence to the student that would help them, remind them who's boss in the class.
Yeah.
The other thing is, what about a consequence to the parents? How dare you send a kid like that to school? That's my first place. I would go right to the parent. And some of these these kids are not from misbehaving kids. They're not all from bad parts of town.
No.
You know, I
No,
would go
you
right to
get
the
good
parent,
care.
and I would go right to the parent and say, "How dare you send somebody like this? How dare you not raise your child like this? Why do you think I want your child in my class? I don't want your child in class. You homeschool them, because what he is doing, or she is doing, is taken away from other students, because
Yeah.
the other students in the class are scared. They're scared of what these students are going to do, right? They're afraid to go into class sometimes. They're afraid to be good at school, because if they're good at school, the ones that are bad in class will make a point of going after them.
We
So they
we
have to
had
hunker down.
Yeah, we had a school student. We had a school student who was doing a placement with us last year. We have another one this year. I don't know enough about him as yet because he's only just joined us. But the one we had last year, she was actually very, very strong-minded. But she also, I talked to her about, socially what she did at school. She kept herself very isolated. She had two friends and that was it. She didn't really know a lot of students. Right? She basically felt that that was the best way to stay secure at school.
Yeah, there you have it. And of course, there's always the cliques in school and all that
Yeah.
other things, you know.
Oh, she avoided all those cliques. She didn't want to know about those cliques because, you join a clique, you end up with disrespect. Is what the way she felt. And she didn't come from a rich family. She did not, right?
Well, they say general lack of respect, threats, and
Yeah.
profanities. One child remarked, "You're so terrible. I can't believe you even have a boyfriend. How could anyone love you?" Well, that's a cruel thing to say.
That's a very cool thing to say. Yeah.
Why is a child that cruel? And why is that child not educated in the fact that that's a cruel, harsh thing to say? Another one says, "My dad has a gun. I'm going to bring it to the school and show you." That's another threatening thing.
Yeah.
And we found in the States that happens every once in a while. A kid goes home, gets dad's guns, and shoots someone in school. So anyway, it is just getting out of hand. So the teachers are saying, "Well, we have a smaller class size. We need more assistants." And I beg to differ. I think the problem is at home. I think that the kids are not disciplined enough. I don't know. Like we talked about soft on crime, but you're not doing a kid any favor if you don't rein them in.
Well, I'll tell
If
you
you
one
have a
thing.
kid that freaks out, you see the little kids having temper tantrums and freaking out. If their parents give them a candy or something to shove them up, guess what? They're going to keep
Yeah.
screaming
Oh, yeah.
because it gets them a reward.
Yeah.
Now,
And in fact,
in
actually,
these classroom situations where the kid freaks out and gets a lot of attention, he or she is getting rewarded, aren't they?
yeah. In fact,
But if
actually, what I would say about my son is when he freaked out in a store because he wanted something, right? We said no, you're not having it, right? There's a point where we said no, you're not having it, and you're coming with us, and we're going, we're going now, right? And we walked off just far enough to actually just keep an eye on him, make sure he's still safe. But boy, did he turn around once he realized we were serious about going and smartened his attitude up, right?
yeah, there's different ways of doing that.
Yeah,
That you don't give in to that kind of thing, because if you do, right now you got a little bully that knows that if he freaks out, he's going to be able to
yeah,
move you. But a lot of parents think, well, that's the way to do it. We'll talk to him later. We'll have a chat to him.
yeah,
So if you do not come down with discipline, I mean, it sounds military and all that, but seriously speaking, it's the parents' job to make a good citizen out of their children so that
yeah,
those children will have a happy life.
yeah,
If those children don't learn those things, they will have complications later in life, because who's going to pay attention to them when they go on the workforce and they start freaking out. Oh, I'm not going to do this
Well,
job.
actually,
Bye, no paycheck for you.
Actually, this is one of the problems I think we face with with some of the current generation that are joining the workforce is attitude. Oh, I'm not going to do a job that I don't like. I'm not going to do things at work that I don't like. Attempt to clean up the kitchen, or something like that. The sort of thing that's not part of your job, but you do it. You do it because everybody has to take their turn doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I know a guy who had to apologize to his worker. His worker was useless, and he told him that this is the third time you got to get to work, and he had words with him. That worker then took him to the management, and the boss had to apologize to the kid. But on the same breath, the kid still could not function, still would not do the job. So they kind of quietly showed him the door.
Yeah.
But the fact that he came down on him and said, "Come on, man, you got to get your work done here," he felt that was an affront to him. That he wasn't able. He shouldn't be talking to him like that, even though he'd been approached a couple of more times, or a couple of previous times.
Yeah.
We find it. When I talk to friends of mine that get a second job because they're bored, like at a grocery store or some other place, they find that the young workers are a real problem. They come in when they want to come in. They don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
The older guys, they're supposed to be there part-time, are the ones that are picking up the slack.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah,
what happens is you get foreigners coming in, or people from a different country come in who are willing to do that work because they need the opportunity to do it, and they do it well.
Yeah.
So what do you now say to your unemployed son in the basement playing video games? How come you haven't got a job? Well, I wouldn't pick up the fruit and move it from here to there.
Yeah.
It was against my rights.
And the issue is that foreign worker comes in. He might not have the best accent in the world, but he arrives at 8 o'clock when his shift starts. He stays till 4 o'clock when his shift ends. In fact, he might stay till 5 or 10 past 4 after his shift ends, because the next guy didn't show.
Whatever it is, it must be really sort of puzzling to a lot of people that come into this country, and they get paid for doing this kind of a job in a clean environment, a safe environment. They're getting paid not much, but they're getting paid, and they're wondering why doesn't other people want to do this? It's easy. It's not the greatest thing. It might be boring, but it's a start,
But it's a job.
Yeah.
It's getting things done. And this whole thing about crisis in the classroom, I think, starts with parents. And there's been a discussion about this for probably the whole of the time that you and I were parents, Dave. This whole discussion about the parenting and the role of parents, because I think that we've had a problem for many, many years.
Yeah, I used to get the idea when I went to parent teacher interviews that it wasn't the right idea to be a disciplinarian. You got to talk to your kid. Well, how much reasoning can you do with a kid? If the kid's running out on the street, right, you punish that kid because you don't want that kid to get run over.
Yep.
You don't want to have a discussion with them saying, well, if the car comes and he hits you, he could hurt you, that kind of thing. How much attention span do some kids have? Very little.
Yeah.
So basically you make it quite clear right at the very beginning. And then when they get older, they realize, if I'm a little kid running out on the street, it's a bad thing. If I do this or that, it's a bad thing. I might want to do this or that, but you can't. So you have to draw the line, and there has to be a hierarchy of order. And if you are unwilling to teach your children discipline and I don't know, just civility,
the
then you're
whole
not doing your kid any favor in the long run.
absolutely
That kid will not be able to survive. And we just talked about this earlier in another article about how young people cannot get into the workforce, and they are fearful of being in situations where they have no interpersonal skills, that they have to have counseling just to do a job where they have to talk to a certain people. And when the counseling is basically go to the corner store, if you buy something, exchange a few words with that person behind the counter, and do that in small doses here and there to learn how to be interactive with other people. So there you have a discipline problem in schools, and you have this isolated telephone culture, video culture.
and that's a part of it. The fact that kids only play video games and they don't interact with people. The only time they interact with people, so to speak, is a bow, 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 you're dead type thing, right?
Yeah, from over the internet, and I don't know. So there is this shift in what's happening in society, and that's another reason why I think that kids should go into a draft of some kind of national service. It doesn't have to be military, but a year of national service where you kind of go to a boot camp and you learn how to be disciplined so that you can go out and help fight forest fires or help communities with disasters, or
I'm coming
around serve your nation in some way or another.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming around to the idea. I do like the fact that the schools are having their placements. So for 6 months, kids are going out on a placement. Well, not quite 6 months, but September to January, kids go out on a placement.
It's not a bad idea if to get them real world experience.
Exactly.
But,
and I think
that's not really what we're talking about here, but that's a pretty good idea.
Well, I think the kids that have been with us will be the kids that will actually know how to deal with things in the workplace, right?
Well,
because we've we haven't just we've helped them understand why certain things have to be done. Sure. Actually, Campbell, who's currently with us, we asked him to do a load of hole punching for evidence binders 2 weeks back last week, because we had to get this stuff bundle ready if we go to the courts, right? It's a part of the work we do. It's boring, but it has to be done, right? And Angela and I have done that work as well. When we've had nobody on board, we do that work. We buckle down, we do it. It's necessary. You've got to get the job done.
Well, but he didn't act entitled, did he? He just went ahead and did it, right?
He went ahead and did it. He asked how to do it. We explained the machine, right? He just got on and did it. And he came, he asked about, is this the right way to do it? Showing.
So what do you do when you get an entitled person there? What do you do when you get a person there that you take a placement and the guy says, I'm not doing that. That's beneath me.
Yeah. We're fortunate we've never had anybody like that.
Well, you haven't had, but other people have. And,
I know.
And there's more and more of that occurrence. And that's what the whole thing is all about. So what if you do have an entitled person? They say, well, I'm not going to do that. That's beneath me. I didn't come here for this. This is what I didn't sign on for. And then you try to dump them. And then they put up a big resistance. And then you got a lawyer knocking at your door, a lawyer on a lawyer's door, basically saying, you say you dismissed this guy without cause. You were forcing him to do task, which was not in his contract, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's basically a cultural problem that we have here.
Yeah.
And we do know, let's say if you have a different cultural problem, if you get a bunch of Filipinos come up here, they're much more likely to be very good employees. If you get a bunch of native-born Canadians come go into the same group, they might not be as disciplined or as go to play. So there's a lot to do with culture.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, and it's a lot to do with your willingness to get the job done, because the people who get ahead are the people who basically see something that needs to be done and do it, even if they're not asked to do it. Right? That's amazing.
Okay, it's 8:05, so we should
Yep,
wrap this up. I got to bring up Gaza again, like I always do. It's very, very clear that the Canadian government and other governments have recognized Palestine, but there's an article we can talk about tomorrow on Dyer that says it might be too late. And nothing will change until the United States pulls its says something about this. It can't, because Donald Trump got a lot of his money from the Adelson family, who are Zionists, and pretty much all of the Congress is afraid of AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. So there's going to be a long time coming, but the rest of the world is marching along anyway. So we will see what happens. But it might be
157 nations now that support a free Palestine, Palestine as a state.
But there's only one that makes the big difference.
Yeah.
And that's the United States.
And so far, but you see, so far there currently are 3, I believe. No, there are at least 2, I believe 3 veto holders that support it.
But the problem is, a country like Britain has now pronounced that they were going to support or recognize the Palestinian state, but still feed weapons and all kinds of other things to the Israelis. So how serious are they really?
Well, that's a question we can address in a lot more detail. All right.
And meanwhile, the murder and the genocide continues.
Yeah.
So I would say that anyway, we can discuss this tomorrow. But Gaza is a nightmare, and Project Greater Israel is going ahead. And I don't know, one country with 10 million people slapping around the United States and telling them what to do is, I don't know. I don't know if there's a historical precedent.
Yeah.
Anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu.
All right, bye.